Welcome back. It's Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news from Twitter, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, the websites by plebs. Joining us today is a very special guest. He is the CEO of Compass Mining. I'm talking about Whit Gibbs. And yeah, he's going to join us on the fun. But first, you know where we're going. We're going to the numbers. Let's do it.
Number time.
Sponsored by Bitcoin 2022. All right. At the time of this recording, the block height is 703,857. The Bitcoin price, 54,790. Chain rewrite days, 847. Total public Lightning capacity, 2,991.94. Up from yesterday, I might add. Anyways, sats per dollar, or Moscow time, 1,825 or 1825, and blocks to the halvening, 136,143.
All right, Phil, I'm going to say it now. Our prediction, our theory that the Lightning Network capacity goes up when the price dumps, or when the price goes up, the Lightning Network capacity goes down. I think that's a total effing fail. Yeah, that doesn't work.
I mean, look, it looked great for a while, right? It did. It looked great for a while, and anyone who was following was like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. But we just lost the plot.
But let this be a lesson to everybody, okay? This is why TA sucks, because you're just drawing lines, and then you reconfirm your biases. Anyways, but the bullish news for today is that, again, the signal, like we always say on this channel, is the Lightning Network capacity that went up, and the price went up as well. Not that shocking, though, because it is Uptober. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily Fail, sponsored by So this fail is tailored. You know, it's tailored to Whit because he's in this industry, and we definitely want to get his take on this fail. So even though it happened, I believe it was last week or the week before, it's still incredibly relevant, and we're going to dive right into it. Let's go.
I might add, hold on. I might add, okay, is that when we got this news, Whit was supposed to come, but some things happened.
Yes.
I was attempting not to call him out on that, like really hard.
We were on time. We're simply Bitcoin, Phil. We don't censor ourselves.
Okay, Nico's right. Nico's right. Okay, let's dive in.
Spot on. I was the late one for this, right? But yeah, this is a pretty epic fail. Let's get into it.
But still, right? Like, exactly. It's very relevant. It's still relevant today, and it's probably going to be more relevant going forward. Okay, here we go. It's a multi-piece, so let's do it. Breaking. China's government bans the sale of cryptocurrency, shitcoins, mining machines in the country. Thus, all leading miner makers who are based in China will now sell only to buyers abroad. Let's just be honest. It's Bitcoin mining, okay? There's no shitcoins. Let's just be honest. Okay. China ban.
Oh. No,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no worries. China banned cryptocurrency last week. All right, but take a look at the date. That's September 27th. Okay, so it's 2 weeks ago. Anyways, let's do the opposite. The U.S. government should buy a strategic reserve of Bitcoin. Fort Nakamoto, the new Fort Knox. Clever. My U.S. Senate campaign now accepts BTC donations. DM me or write bgm@blakemasters.com for info to donate, right? And that is Blake Masters right here, COO of Teal Capital. So that's pretty huge. I mean,
by the way, I want to cut in here, guys. So we are single issue voters on Simply Bitcoin. So if you are living in the great state of Arizona, you definitely want to give this guy a vote, because he is pro Bitcoin, right? So it doesn't matter whether you lean left politically or whether you lean right politically, right? Become a single issue voter. Vote for the people that support Bitcoin, because those are the people that are going to help us in the battle to come. Anyways, I'm sorry, Phil.
No, I appreciate that. It's a good addition, man. All right. So those two tweets. Now let's dive into this article. We're going to pay attention, right, to the wording, because of course things aren't always what they seem, and they're trying to, right, they're presenting a picture and they want us to believe something very specific. Why China cracked down on Bitcoin. The most recent announcement of the ban on cryptocurrency services stated that Bitcoin is a specific virtual commodity that is not issued by a monetary authority, has no monetary properties such as being legal tender, is not a real currency, and should not and cannot be used as currency in the market. The fact that China is the first mover in trying to contain this bubble is a reminder that the country is at the forefront of digital currency development. Very key, right? They're taking a very hard stance. They're not being tolerant in any way, shape, or form. But they're making sure to try to build their shitcoin. Anyways, we have to distinguish between, this is great, between privately mined Bitcoin and China's efforts to create a digital yuan. Whereas the former is largely in line with the idea of a private currency that circumvents the exclusive right of the state to issue money. China's digital renminbi, RMB, is trying to do the exact opposite. It's trying to make you a slave. No, it's my own part. It is a state-backed digital currency that would enable consumers to access digital legal tender straight from the bank. Oh, thank you. It's so nice. Anyways, private cryptocurrency has been criticized internationally for its potential to enable illegal, untraceable transactions. Private cryptocurrency. I want you to think about that. Anybody can buy an ASIC. Anybody can set up a miner. How is that private exactly? The code is open source. The wallets are open source. What exactly is private?
They're projecting, Phil. I keep telling you, the IMF said the same words, man. They're projecting what it is. They're guilty themselves, right? So look, and it was a couple hundred years ago, or I don't know when China had they had this giant treasure fleet of all these merchants that can go anywhere, and the elites felt threatened by that, and they burnt down that treasure fleet. And this took China back, decades, if not centuries, right? Are they committing the same mistake? I believe so. I think that maybe in the short term, they might not see the fallback from this, but in the long run, I think it's going to cost them trillions of fiat dollars in the future for banning Bitcoin mining within the country. And now you have some of the most well-funded Bitcoin manufacturers even leaving the country and manufacturing someplace else. So, Whit, I got two questions for you, right? First question is, how big of a fuck up was that China ban for China? And the second question is, we know that there is a recent shortage on chips. How much is that affecting the mining industry?
These are two very great questions. When it comes to the level of fuck up that this is for China, this is somewhere between the Chernobyl meltdown and Black Monday, right? When you're looking at how this is all playing out in China, I think that they are going to look back on this in a couple of decades and just absolutely kick themselves, because this not only is bad for their balance sheet, but it's also a move that is going to put other nations in a position to gain power over China, which a lot of countries have been trying to do for a very long time, right? So if you're one of these developing nations, like, I don't know, El Salvador, and you see a monstrous country like China start to ban Bitcoin or take this hardline stance against Bitcoin, you want to hold as much of it on your balance sheet as possible, because if you take that contrarian stance and it plays off for you, then you've now leveled up your country immensely. Whereas if, let's say, it doesn't work, which that's not going to be the case, you're no different than you already are, right? You're already in this position, as El Salvador is, well below the ranks of where I think they're going to be in the next couple of decades. So you're able to take these chances. And then you look at how this is going to potentially impact the legislation in the United States. I think a lot of people are thinking, oh, no, well, if China's banning it, then the U.S. is next. I wouldn't be so sure. I think what we're going to see is actually the United States take the counter stance and actually come in support of Bitcoin and support of more hash rate coming within our borders. And rather than pushing off this innovation like we've done in the past, right? The United States has been guilty of that. We're going to take this opportunity to take back some of our thunder and realize that this is going to be a great position for us to switch a little bit of that global dynamic and shift the power back in our favor. Now, To your second question, chip supply. China has been on the front trying to attack Taiwan for the longest time, right? You've heard the comments that they've made about the potentials for invasion or the veiled threats that they've made in the West, right? Well, the majority of the chip supply in the world is produced in two places. It's produced in Taiwan and it's produced in South Korea. So first step for them is to gain production. If they gain the power of the production of chips, it provides them this really great pole position as a power leader in the world. So I think that we're going to see, and we already are starting to see, TSMC, the Taiwanese semiconductor manufacturing company, starting to move their operations over to the States. So they're building a facility in Arizona. You see Bitmain and MicroBT starting to move their production out of China, whether it's Thailand or Indonesia or Malaysia, setting up factories outside of the CCP's control so that they can maintain their operations. Bitcoin cannot be stopped, right? So even if China wants to flex, even if these countries want to come in and try to impose their will on what will be the future of Bitcoin, Bitcoin survives, right? Manufacturers will move out of those countries. Chip manufacturers will move away from the potential threat. ASICs will continue to get made. Miners will continue to hash. Bitcoin will continue to get produced. And on we go. So massive fuck up, and we're not going to be fazed by this. 2 years from now, we're completely going to forget it.
Absolutely. What doesn't kill the honey badger makes it stronger. And that's exactly what we saw this year with this. And I think looking back on this is going to have the same magnitude as we saw with the 2017 fork wars, right? We saw a nation state that controlled the majority of the hash rate, banned Bitcoin mining. The hash rate took a tumble. The price followed. And then guess what happened? The incentives of Bitcoin and the hash rate, not only is it coming back viciously, it's coming back in a decentralized fashion, making Bitcoin even more resistant. Bullish. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily Meme Review, sponsored by Citadel 21.
All right, everybody. The first meme is brought to us by Steve Hanke. No, just kidding. It was a pleb that replied to Steve Hanke. Let's check out Steve Hanke's meme. Greed, fear, crypto crash. The only problem, Steve Hanke, is that Bitcoin just keeps crashing upwards for the last 10 years. You crazy man. Okay, anyways, this was a meme by a fellow plebe. Right, and these are the NPCs, energy waste, being poor is okay. It's just Tether, bitter, no coiner economists, just write more fun articles. Government will ban Bitcoin. And this is exactly why the plebes are so important, because every one of Steve Hanke's tweets, you just have the plebes just drilling him down with the truth in the comments, and memes go into that as well, right? But the next meme is brought to us by Self-Banked, and I thought it was really, really, really interesting. Check this out. Hyper Bitcoinization, right? It changes the world, kind of flips it upside down, right? Says the fiat legacy third world, deteriorating fiat economies, and it's the developing world that are going to be, the countries that embrace Bitcoin first. Why? Because the countries that have the most to lose from hyper Bitcoinization are the countries with the most powerful fiat money printers, and the countries that have the most to gain are the countries that least benefit from the legacy financial system. We had Lord Fusuicha from the Kingdom of Tonga. He explained this, right? You have what's happening in El Salvador, right? So if you want to know what's going on with Bitcoin, keep an eye on the Ukraine, keep an eye on El Salvador. That's where this revolution is going to start. But anyways, for those awesome memes, Phil, I'm going to give it a Bitcoin grenade pin that got kind of mixed in with the green screen. But yeah, what about you, Phil?
Wow. Okay, look, those were epic memes, very philosophical. I really love the response to Steve Hanke. I actually responded with the Fred chart because that chart seems to just go up like a hockey stick. So his theory just goes to the ground. Bitcoin isn't going to die because they're never going to stop printing. Anyways, you know what? On that note, I am going to give it, and it's going to seem insignificant, but this is my spare mic, right? That also has the furry top, because I love the furries. But why is that significant? Because you always got to have a plan B.
You hear that, everyone?
Ah,
Phil might be a furry. You heard it here first. Anyways, Whit, what would you give those memes?
I mean, listen, we all have to be grateful for the Stanky Hankies and the Peter Schiffs because they rally the troops around a cause, right? And it's great to see these nonsensical memes that he's putting out get such a response from the community. And I'm going to go with my lucky 2021 October bull market mug because this is the year. This is the year, and the Hankies are going down.
Yes.
Bullish.
Ultra bullish.
Right.
Anyways, guys, we want to know, do you agree with our scores? Do you disagree? Let us know down in the comments. And of course, join our Telegram group because we need memes. And it's a Bitcoin meme review. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
The Daily News, sponsored by
Crypto Cloaks.
All right, everybody. I picked this article because I saw Whit critiquing it on his Twitter. Bitcoin miners align with fossil fuel firms, alarming environmentalists. When people don't see pollution, they don't think it's there. We've debunked this so many times on this show, so we're not going to cover it today, but I want you guys to keep this article in mind. Okay, moving on. We have the mayor of Miami saying Miami mayor advocates for Bitcoin nuclear mining hub. The fact that we have nuclear power means that it's very inexpensive power. I want you guys to keep in mind what I said here and what I said here. Moving on to this Wall Street Journal article. Bitcoin miners eye nuclear power again as environmental criticisms mount, right? They always have to they always have to inject the narrative somehow. But anyways, it was an amazing article, and check it out. Bitcoin miners under fire for their sizable environmental footprint are forging partnerships with owners of struggling nuclear power plants with electricity to spare. And that's very similar to what the Miami mayor was saying. But anyways, check this out. New nuclear projects are eyeing cryptocurrency miners as well. Startup OKLO Inc., which plans to build a small-scale fission power plant that can run on used nuclear fuel, has signed a 20-year supply deal with hardware and hosting firm Compass Mining. It goes on to say, both industries' challenges are the other industries' positives. So I got two questions for you, Whit. What are both industries' challenges, and why and how are they the other industries' challenges? And the crazy part about that article that really shocked me is that you signed a 20-year supply deal, but they haven't even built the nuclear reactor yet. So what's your logic behind that?
Yeah, so let's talk about the two industries and their main challenges being the boon or the win for the other industry, right? For nuclear power, they need somebody to take their power because for some reason everyone thinks it's terrible. You know, I blame Chernobyl for this. That HBO series that came out not too long ago, I think was the right piece of propaganda to start allowing people to push for the decommissioning of these nuclear plants. So Bitcoin miners make for natural partners because what do Bitcoin miners need? They need cheap renewable power, right? So you've got the nuclear plants who don't have a natural buyer. You've got the Bitcoin miners who would love to have a natural supplier of cheap renewable power. And well, it's a marriage made in heaven, right? So you're able to pair together these large consumers and Bitcoin miners who want this cheap energy from a renewable source, and these nuclear power plants who would love nothing more than to provide cheap renewable energy to someone who isn't going to send the woke mob after them, right? So that all works out. For us in Oklo, what it came down to really was their mission. For us, that's what we look like when we're talking about partnerships with companies. We look at what is their mission, what is the good that they want to do. And for Oklo, they're doing something that it's a very difficult lift. They're building micro nuclear fission reactors that are going to go in areas to provide towns with cheap renewable energy. So what we do at Compass is we have committed to saying, look, you're going to build one of these reactors in a place. Let's say the town can't consume all the energy that you're throwing off. Mm-hmm. Rather than them paying more to subsidize the additional production, or Oklo taking a loss, which would limit their ability to expand and serve other communities, Compass will come in and we'll take the excess. So we'll come in, we'll take the excess. We're going to commit to it for 20 years because we can take that power, no problem. And we didn't even commit to a rate. That's the craziest thing. Like for us, we just said, hey, look, we know you're going to produce it cheaper than what's going to be out there anyway. So you build it and we will come and we'll be there to offset whatever it is. Some of the sites may throw off an extra megawatt. Some of the sites may throw off an extra 5 megawatts. And whatever it is, we're going to jump in and take it so that Oklo can continue to serve these communities that are in need.
So sorry, Phil, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's incredible. I mean, that sounds like like you're essentially adding the piece to create a positive feedback loop in there. I mean, like essentially you're providing the missing piece to the puzzle. That sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're going to build a business like that, you need to know that you can sell all of your power, right? It's going to help you lock in contracts. It's going to help you continue to get funding. It will allow you to continue to innovate and potentially disrupt an industry. But you have to have a partner who is willing to take that ride with you and say, look, as long as we build it, you're going to come and support us. And that's what we wanted to do. We want to say, hey, look, we believe in your mission. You build it, we'll support you. And we think it's going to work out very, very well. So the first mini fusion reactor should be live in 2023. We're excited about that.
That's incredibly fast for a nuclear power plant.
Yep, they've been developing it for a while now. It takes 5 years from planning to commissioning to launch. So we are coming in about halfway through the process for the site that they've identified, and they're already identifying new sites. So we anticipate it will be upwards of 200 megawatts in total that we'll be able to draw from the Oklo deal over the course of the next 20 years.
That's awesome. So, and I kind of want to connect this with and I want to address the first article, right, where you have all these environmentalists saying, listen, like this is bad for the environment, right? We've had Denver Bitcoin debunk this many times. I've debunked this many times. Phil has debunked this many times, but rarely do we have the CEO of Compass Mining to debunk this. So please, could you do this the pleasure to debunk this mainstream media garbage?
Yeah, so let's walk through a scenario in which they win, right? They win. They win. All the Bitcoin ASICs, they're unplugged. It shuts down the entire Bitcoin network, right? This best case scenario for these people. Not a fucking thing changes. Like literally, there is zero change in the entire carbon emission space globally. You're not going to see a marked change in the pollution or emissions of the world because Bitcoin mining consumes 0.1% of all energy produced and consumed every single year globally. We're a drop in the bucket, right? This is just headline, like the mainstream media headline mongering to attack Bitcoin. It has nothing to do with the environment. It has nothing to do with the impact that mining has. It is literally just an attack on non-state money because they're going down and they're clutching at whatever straws they can.
Absolutely. And not only that, right? It's stranded energy, because if it wasn't stranded energy, then it wouldn't be economical to mine with, right? So it's energy that was already going to waste. Anyways, moving on to the next article, which I also saw you talk about on Twitter. Check this out. Gordon signs bill exempting Wyoming natural gas flared for crypto mining from taxation. And this is exactly what you were referring to during the Daily Fail about individual states in the United States, right? Really, really going towards Bitcoin. Specifically, what we see now is Wyoming and Texas. Miami, unfortunately, I love you, Francis Suarez, but he went kind of the shitcoin path as of late. Perhaps he learned his lesson. But anyways, just to read a little bit from the article, Wyoming Governor Mike Gordon signed House Bill 189 into law on Thursday, April 15th. Legislation will exempt the use of natural gas flares for purposes such as Bitcoin and shitcoin mining from taxation. So, Whit, why is this a big deal?
So it's a big deal for two reasons. Number one, anytime you get positive legislation like this passed to incentivize more miners to move to an area, it's a massive win for that state. Obviously, it's a win for the miners, but it needs to be said that this government and all state governments, they act in their own best self-interest, right? Like let's assume that there's a level of altruism associated with it, but in reality, they want more business to come to their state because that means more taxes. That means a better life for their citizens, right? So this is a big win with the governor saying that I'm going to sign this bill into law because I believe that attracting more Bitcoin miners will increase the quality of life for all of the citizens in my state, right? So that's win one. The second thing is this is a big thumb of the nose at all of the people who say that Bitcoin mining is bad for the environment, because what's really bad for the environment is flaring natural gas, right? You want to see what damages the ozone? Why don't you hold some hairspray and then light it on fire and just witness that pollution?
Wait, you're breaking the matrix. Too much truth, bro. Too much truth.
They banned hairspray. Don't you remember? Oh no, wait. They banned it in the 80s.
You can't. You know? That's why the environmentalists are stuck in such a conundrum, because it's like flared gas is bad, but Bitcoin mining is bad. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place. That's just the truth. But anyways, last but not least, Whit, you guys recently announced this for Compass, and I wanted you to talk about it. Check this out from Compass's Twitter. We launched at-home mining this morning to celebrate. We'll ship the thing's already over, but talk to us a little bit about at-home mining. That's really interesting. I never would have thought. So personally, the way that I see it is, mining has reached a point right now that if you don't have industrial electricity costs, right, it's actually pretty expensive. So what's your logic behind that?
Yeah. So, right now you can plug anything in anywhere and it's basically profitable, right? An S9 is profitable paying 13 cents per kilowatt hour. So you're able to derive profit in these kinds of frothy markets, no matter what. But our thought behind this was not about profitability. It was about this idea of self-sovereignty. We have so many people that are coming into the Bitcoin space now, and it's becoming ever present that everyone needs to have hash rate that is directly in their control, because things are getting wonky out there. Freedoms are going by the wayside. We're seeing the government step in and do all kinds of crazy stuff that's going to potentially put us in spots where we don't have the freedoms that we used to. So we just thought it was really important to get a product and service out there that allowed the plebs everywhere in the United States to be able to order these miners to their home, figure out how to run them, learn how to develop an operation of their own, even if it's just with one machine in their shed. And we're going to continue to iterate and add new things that make mining at home easier. And shout out to Steve Barber and Denver Bitcoin. These guys have been pushing this black box that they're going to be launching, and it's going to be a massive win for Bitcoiners. And we're excited to see how those two can line up with our at-home mining product. And then somebody had built something with one of those Blockstream satellites, and the Blockstream satellite plus an ASIC, you're mining off grid wherever you can connect the power, basically. And that's really what we're seeing as the next coming trend, is people who are really sovereign-minded Bitcoiners are going to want to have complete control over just a small fleet of ASICs so that they can stack KYC-free sats.
Absolutely. And if let's say worst case scenario, I highly doubt this, right? Let's say the US, goes the way of banning Bitcoin mining, which I highly doubt it, but it's going to be, those sovereign individuals that hold that line, that are running those ASICs, right? And a lot of them are going to migrate to Venezuela, which just tends to happen. But anyways, Phil, there was an open source software release today. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Software releases. All right, everyone, we've got Umbrel version 0.4.3 that was released, and that is a Bitcoin and Lightning node that also allows you to go onto their marketplace and download all kinds of cool apps onto your Raspberry Pis or whatever you're using as a node. Anyways, check it out down below in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys. Before you go, buy your tickets to Bitcoin 2022. It's the biggest Bitcoin conference ever. It's going to be 4 days this year. They're the last day. It's music and networking. Super cool. Definitely recommend you go. Phil and I are probably going to make it. Check out the Bitcoin Conference 2022. Check out CryptoCloaks.com for the best Bitcoin 3D printed merch. Get yourself a Bitcoin grenade or a 3D printed honey badger. Check out CryptoCloaks.com. Check out Citadel 21 for the best Bitcoin cultural zine. It's Bitcoin news by plebs for plebs. Awesome stories by plebs as well. Get yourself a physical copy. There's only 1,000 made per volume. Check out Pirate Hash for some awesome Bitcoin trinkets. There's this Bitcoin board game. There's this source code poster. Really cool. It's by the guy that made the UI for Bisq. PirateHash.com. Before we go, I also want to give a shout out to our awesome guests. His name is Whit Gibbs. You can go follow him at Bitcoin Broski. He is the CEO of Compass Mining. And definitely go check out Compass Mining. Everyone can now mine Bitcoin. Awesome Bitcoin mining hosting company. Definitely recommend them. Definitely, if you want to get into mining, but you don't want to do the whole technical aspect of it, but you do want to feel what it is to mine, check out compassmining.io. Guys, that was our show. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. And of course, if you want to continue hearing the catastrophic fails and the Bitcoin news from the pleb perspective, definitely consider subscribing, and we will see you tomorrow, guys, for another episode of Simply Bitcoin.
Become a sovereign citizen.